Tommy Welch, it was a Limerick victory. They're the 4-in-a-row champions, an unbelievable team, and what a final here today as well. 2-15 to 30 points in the end. Yeah, unbelievable final.
Yeah, you have to say hats off to Limerick and congratulations, Aisling. They were, I think Kilkenny thrown the kitchen sink at them for the first half and even for probably 7 minutes into the second half, and they got that goal. Everyone was going well for them. They got the goal to go 10 to 11 points up, and next minute Limerick just took over. So they obviously just stick to the game plan. I see Peter Casey was talking after the game. I'd say he probably got man of the match. He was just saying they've so many games played where they could use as reference points, where they were down and they use different scenarios, and they just go back on their own experiences. They don't have to talk about other teams. They just go back on their own experiences, and they stuck to the game plan. They played around with the ball, and I think that was the difference between Limerick today and every other team in the country for the last couple of years. When times get tough, they're able to play around with the ball. Like we'll say Barcelona with their tiki-taka football, they're able to do that in the hurling sense, which could never been done before. Someone to take the ball back off you. And, I'd say with probably 59, 60 minutes gone, there was still in the game Kilkenny, maybe 3 or 4 points in it. And then just the last 15 minutes, they're just an absolute onslaught.
Yeah, looking at the scoreline, it didn't feel like that.
No, it absolutely didn't. But then looking back on the game, like Limerick often score, whether it's through goals or points, that they hit the 30-point mark and that barrier. And that seems to be where they aim for. And in the first half, it was 1-9 to 9 points. And probably looking back in hindsight, that was probably never going to stay going for the full 70 minutes. That to beat this Limerick team, you would have to score and stay scoring regularly. And Kilkenny took their 2 goals very well, and a few more goal chances. Owen Cody had a chance in the first half, only half chance. It was either Mossy or Owen had another chance in the second half, or they pulled on a ball, but it didn't just connect with right. And the last one then where Alan Murphy had the bat. So they had a couple of goal chances, but you have to say you can't rely on goal chances to win in All-Ireland. Limerick, I think, just all over the field, I'd say 6 different players scored 2 points or more. So, which is actually 2 points. Yeah. And Peter Casey scored 5 from play. So when you have that going on, like, that's incredible as a team. Like, bar Peter Casey scoring, we'll say his 5 points. Other than that, you couldn't say anybody else blew the lights out. Like, they held Gillan very well, they held Seamus Flanagan well, Tom Morrissey, Garrod Hegarty. I'm talking about shooting the lights out on the scoreboard. They kept them all relatively low there, but so many of them scored 2 points from play, and that's a sign of a great team. They all trust each other. Nobody's going for the glory. Give it to the right man, the right position, and it has benefited them so many times in the past, and they did again today.
And what a ferocious battle it was in terms of the intensity. How were you feeling at half time? Because that intensity from Kilkenny was something else in that first half. They were winning, they were out in front, they were winning those balls, the breaking balls they seemed to be winning. There was players swarming Limerick players. Like, they were in a good state at that point. They
were, and you hit the nail on the head, Aisling, because see a few Limerick players interviews after the game, and they spoke about at half time. They were saying we weren't winning the breaks on our own puck-outs or their puck-outs, and they had to change around that. But you see, you couldn't keep that going for 70 minutes. As you said, it was ferocious. And you wonder, how did the game open up? What changed? Did Limerick change their game plan? Did Kilkenny change their game plan? And I'm just wondering, looking back in that first half, you probably can't keep that level of intensity. Like, how many times, like I said before the game, that Kilkenny would have to push up on the puck-outs in order to win this game. In the first half, when they put it up to Limerick, they didn't really. They brought out ball from, but Kilkenny just took it back off them. And you probably can't do that for 70 minutes. Limerick are so big. They've probably 3 lads 6'5". They've another 4 or 5 lads 6'2", 6'3". So you can't stay taking the ball off them, guys of that size. So I just think Limerick, they've so many players. This is a golden generation for them. Like, you're talking about superstars: Kyle Hayes, Diarmaid Burns, Aaron Gillan, Seamus Flanagan, Garrod Hegarty. All these lads, you just can't keep them down for 70 minutes. I thought Keane Lynch had a great game today.
Yeah. Was he moved then to centre half forward in the second half, and was that maybe a bit of a difference, I thought?
Yeah, well, they kind of rotate around all the time anyway. So sometimes you're out centre forward. I know, like, Keane Lynch was out. He probably does his best work out around the middle, because he doesn't score 5-6 points from play, normally or regularly. What he does is he brings other lads into the game. I thought he was brilliant against Galway as well. And he didn't stand out to probably the supporters or the people watching the game neutrally, but when you watch the guys that were getting the scores, most of us come from him. A quick rise in a ruck and hand pass it out. But listen, they're done the 4 in a row now. Like, you go back, think of all the great teams of the past, like their own Limerick teams, the Wexford teams of the 50s, the Cork teams of the 40s, the 70s. You go back to the Kilkenny team of even the early 1900s. They were winning, numerous All-Irelands. The 70s team for Kilkenny with Eddie Kerr and Van Lark and all these fellas. The Kilkenny team of the 90s. But like, they're just rising, and it seems to be only better they're getting.
Yeah, can you compare the teams? Obviously the team you were on to win 4 in a row, it's only yourselves, Cork and now Limerick that have done the 4 in a row. Can you compare who is the best, or is it impossible to compare? It's different eras.
Sure, it is impossible. They're just an outstanding team. Even if they don't ever win another All-Ireland, they'll go down as one of the best teams ever. Like, I thought when Henry is 10, there's a good few of us at 9, many more with 8 All-Irelands. I thought that no one ever catches, but it looks like these lads are more than halfway there now, so maybe, they'll go on and win many, many more. But whether they do or not, it's not all about titles. Like, just as players that can play the game, like, you look at the fundamentals of hurling, to be able to win your own ball is one. They can do that and can do it very better than most. Fitness, sure, they're one of the fittest teams I'd say has ever played the game. Heart, mindsets, they're the best, and they seem to be the best at all aspects of the game. But probably a fundamental of the GA, which was never there, of hurling that was never there before, was to play around with the ball. 5-yard, 10-yard passes. That was always frowned upon in hurling. The traditionalists, and I'm probably one of them, never got great enjoyment out of that. But they're after taking that now to a new level. So now if you want to, I suppose, take down this team, or even, win All-Irelands now, I think that's a fourth fundamental that will come into it, that you may learn whether you like it or not. You need to learn how to play with it. I saw in the last 5 minutes of the All-Ireland semi-final, they were playing around with the ball here in front of us in the Hogan stand. I just felt maybe they won't get that so easy in the final. But listen, they did it again today. So when I was playing, say, in the half back line, you could give that fella 3 or 4 yards. Probably could give him 10 yards, so they wouldn't pass him the ball. They'd launch the ball into full forward line. Now if you're playing out there, if you give him a metre, they'll give him the ball. And that's what they're so good at. And I think they're generational players. Like we thought some teams would never ever lose again. The great Dublin team, the Kerry golden years with Spillane and Jack O'Shea and Mikey Sheehy, John Egan, the bomber. You think they're never. Well, I think that Limerick squad at the moment, they are generational. Like, back looking at their team, like Nicky Quaid, one of the best goalkeepers ever. Barry Nash is just after turning into an absolute super cornerback. Diarmaid Burns, like 8 points again today, 7 frees. Kyle Hayes, phenomenal again when he was needed today. Keane Lynch, like the wizard. I think his ball winning ability is just off the charts. Garrod Hegarty in the second half was brilliant. David Reedy, whilst he was quiet, scored 2 points again from play and saved it. Crucial at the end. And they scored a lot of scores in the last 15 minutes that turned it from maybe a 4-point victory into what it was.
One of the big battles of the day was Hugh Lawler and Aaron Gillane. I thought you did brilliantly. What a player he's turned into be.
Yeah, he was fantastic, and Hugh Lawler has been one of our best players, if not our best player, over the last 3 or 4 years. He's just turned into the go-to man, and we all felt that to mark the inside full forward line for Limerick, you need to have pace, but when you're against Gillane you need strength as well, and I thought Hugh Lawler had both of them, and it was a great match-up, a great battle. Gillane did well enough as well, in fairness to him, but I thought Hugh was outstanding. Flanagan, I thought young Tommy did a great job in Flanagan. Like, Flanagan throughout the whole Munster Championship campaign he was keeping Limerick in it when everyone else was playing below the level expected of them and that they expected of themselves. Flanagan was super, and Peter Casey as well. And Peter Casey kind of took into it there in the second half, but I think they can be proud of themselves, the Kilkenny backline.
Yeah, there was a moment, I think it was around the 50th minute, and you clean caught a ball in here and you just said yeah, like you gave out a bit of a shout, and it just reminded me of your type of playing, and you don't get to see it maybe too often because there's players in swarming around you, but he clean caught it really well and he got out through the defence and out with the ball, and it was nice to see that. It was a big moment as well. Yeah,
it was a big moment, and I had it down as a moment. You're always writing down moments that could be the one that started the charge, and it was a diagonal ball, and if you remember Gillane, you can't let him in behind you, and he had let him in behind him, but that's why I was so excited, is that he went back and caught it in front of Gillane. But if you fast forward about 30 seconds, then Gillane won the next ball, so that's a sign of a great player too. But no, Hugh Lawler is absolutely outstanding, and Kilkenny will depend on him if they're to go forward in years to come.
Tom Phelan, I thought, was another Kilkenny player that really stood up today, and it's his first All-Ireland. He'll take a lot from that.
Yeah, first All-Ireland. He was the only player playing in his first All-Ireland today, Aisling, and we had a funny exchange there in the second half, and I think you said he was having a good game and I said it'll be his last. But you were talking about Tom Phelan and I was talking about John Keane and the referee.
Yeah, because you said to me that, it'll be his last, and I said, Jesus, that is the harshest thing that I think Tommy Walsh has ever said to me. And you said, yeah, his last, he's 50. And I said, what? And then I just clicked then.
You gave me that look, so I wasn't going to say it again. But yeah, no, listen, John Keane, and I thought you were talking about John, and he was having a brilliant game. And I thought, listen, after the Munster final last year, he let the game flow and never got another game for the rest of the year, and got the final today. And you're wondering, will he be the John Keane? Because he was supposed to be, by all accounts, a very good hurler himself, and so you can play both sides of it. The referee, but you also know what's going through the player's mind. This is a nervous occasion, a tough occasion. People spend their whole lives trying to play here, and he played it with common sense, and there was no dirt in that game, there was no nasty exchanges, it was just man on man, and there was tough, physical battles at different times, but not everything in the spirit of the game. And I thought John Keenan was just absolutely wonderful today, and as I said, it was his last game because he is 50 years of age, and not to be telling everyone his age so many times here, but he was super, and well capable of refereeing the All-Ireland final.
Yeah, there was incredible scenes here after, obviously, when we seen Keane Lynch go up and lift the Liam McCarthy along with Declan Hannon, and then we saw John Kiley go up and he had his moment, and he really had a moment, maybe a little bit more than previous years. He stayed up there for a little while, and he had a bit of a dance with the cup. It's something we don't always see.
No, it isn't, and isn't it wonderful to see it, because these managers, I suppose, you expect them so many times to be serious and give the dull answers to any questions he might be asking of them, but to see a lad out there and just let the emotions, because we were even saying, he was even able to dance to the beat with the cup, which it mustn't be his first rodeo. See him tonight, I think they're down in the Woodlands tonight, down in Limerick. I think they have a private party and private celebration, and sure there'll be plenty more dancing tonight. But listen, Kiley, I said it earlier on, I'll say it again, he's the master of psychology. He knows how to get the best out of his players. He knows how to, I suppose, even keep a little tie on the supporters. He gave them a few, speeches over the years to leave the players alone, let them prepare for their All-Ireland final back in 2018, and he's just able to get a handle on all of them. Then he lets them off and do their own thing for the winter. And he celebrated, and it was nice to see. He went up and got Joe McKenna, gave him the cup. He went up further and gave it to JB McManus, gave him the cup. So it's very much a kind of a team kind of an effort. And Paul Kinnerk is the amazing one, really, isn't he? We never see him.
Yeah.
I see him out there with his children, out on the pitch there, walking around after the game, and you just don't see him, and that's a job for you now, actually, to get an interview out of him. But because he seems to be, he has his nail on the he's there with clear teams in the past. He's been with football teams, he's been with academies, and he's able to get the best out of them all. And an intriguing character. Yeah,
you heard Keane in his speech, and it was one of the first people that he mentioned, and everything that he's done for them, and his knowledge surprises them every day. He said something along the lines of that, and you could really see, okay, he's a massive difference here.
Yeah, he must be, and doesn't make things too complicated. Yeah. Like we've seen Limerick over the years, they still don't come up with mad tactics or anything. Now, I'd love to find out what have the different game plans maybe during the game, but I'd say they're simple enough. And most of it revolves around just moving and finding a lad to someone around there. If one lad is free, look around again, you'll see someone else, just give him the ball. But seems to be simple enough, but probably puts in huge amount of effort to devise these game plans, and as regards in the training session, so that you play that becomes instinctive then on the day of a game. But no, Paul Kinnerk has had huge success with his team, and I remember asking a bit about him down around Limerick and Clare, and by all accounts he's a genius, even outside of the coaching.
And what about the atmosphere here today? The two of us looked at each other just as the game was about to begin, and we said, whoa, definitely for me, geez, it made you feel alive. It was something else. Yeah,
it was one of the best atmospheres I've been at now in a long time. We're especially here, we're down near the supporters in the upper deck. Many times, during the season, there's no real crowd up here, it's all downstairs. But today we were right in the middle of it, and it was wow. From the minute, I suppose, from about 3:05 when the teams came out in the field, it was just every time And sometimes you wonder, will the supporters stay coming, because Limerick are here all the time, Kilkenny are here a lot of time as well, but Dublin has been full since about 11 o'clock this morning, and people love All Ireland final day.
And how would you sum up the season then? Have you been impressed and have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought, but the Munster campaign was outstanding. Every game was better than the next. The highlight for me was the Gaelic Grounds. I was down to that one for the first one with Clare and Limerick. I thought the atmosphere was just off the chart, similar to today. And then the Leinster, you had Wexford beating Kilkenny in Wexford Park to stay in the Lee McCarthy Cup. You had Westmeath beating Wexford. So many highlights during the season. The semi-finals then, Kilkenny and Clare was a cracker. But I think the final though was hurling people love and will respect great players and great teams. And you just, looking out here today, you just have to look on and admire what we've seen.
Yeah, I got to speak to some of the fans before the game, and really I just asked them, what does hurling mean to you? And that was probably one of the best answers. They went into like exactly what it means to them, coming here to Croke Park, getting days out in Croke Park. It doesn't happen for every county. Probably Limerick and Kilkenny have been lucky, Kilkenny definitely down through the years. But what does hurling mean to you, Tommy?
Yeah, sure, listen, hurling just means everybody together. Like, it's the spirit of the whole thing, really, Aisling. I never got too carried away with regards, the preparation, looking at your diet, looking at your gym, looking at analysing other players, what way they move and that. My enjoyment of the game was everything. Was meeting the lads, giving it absolute socks for that training session, shaking hands after it, on you go after it, have a laugh, have a joke. Depends on the time of season, you might have a few pints or in the winter, but it was the camaraderie, the friendships. And I think it was Derval O'Rourke did an interview many years ago, and I know there was often, I suppose, from the likes of the Olympic athletes, they probably mightn't have understood how the GA maybe, got so much funding in that. But then I think when she went down with her own kids or her family to play in GA clubs, she saw then what it was all about. That's not just about the big days in Croke Park. It's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, it's Friday. You're down the field, your young lads might be playing, you might be coaching the team, you have a bit of crack there. But if you're not, you're out with the other parents. You're either walking around the walkway or just having the chat. But it gives you something to do all week. That when you're sitting down of a Monday, right, I'm in the field on Tuesday, I'm there on Friday, I've something out of a game Sunday, right, or going down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh or Nolan Park or the club grounds, Tullerone, or wherever you may go, the bars. And that's what it's about. It's just the people and friendships and the camaraderie. And my memories of, say, winning All Irelands here, it's not the medals. It's the hugs with lads. That's why watching John Keiley dance around there, I'm delighted to see that. That's what it's all about. If you can't enjoy those moments, what's the point in even playing? I've seen them going around with babies. It's 5 or 6 of them going around. They're holding their young lads around Croke Park. That's magical to see. Brothers, see Mike Casey and Peter Casey hugging each other, coming out, probably seeing family members in the stand. That's what it means. It means. And there was still earlier on, there was 30 clubs representing in that All Ireland in both panels. So 15 clubs represented with Limerick, 15. Every one of them clubs are so proud of their players. I'm on the other side now, so we had 5 players, say, involved with Kilkenny. You're so proud of them, and you're hoping one of them plays or scores, it comes on, and that's what I'm sure it's the same for every club.